So yesterday after work, I ended up watching 3 different videos on YouTube, all pertaining to the same subject, that being the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie. 2 of them actually were asking the question or touching upon the subject about Tails and what his role will be in the sequel, and basically also who may have sent him, and if whether or not Sonic and him know each other from a previous timeline or not. The other thing that was talked about in another video was basically what things, what references, what Easter eggs, cameos, acknowledgments, maybe even character appearances would we like to see in the sequel. Now, I will say that 2 of these videos were done by people I'm subscribed to. One of them was 3CFilms, and the other was Black Nerd Comedy, Andre Meadows. Andre talked about basically the 7 things he would like to probably see referenced, acknowledged, maybe make an appearance, stuff like that in the sequel. 3CFilms touched upon the 4 possible suspects as to who he thinks could have sent Tails to find Sonic. And then I think the other video, I think this was by Rant, touched upon basically the connection that Tails may have with Sonic and what we could be in store for with the movie. So with all that said, I decided, maybe I should give my own opinion, because as a lot of you know, I am a huge Sonic fan. I mean, a lot of you that have followed my channel here know that, because back when Sonic was part of the Archie Comics publication, I used to do reviews and monthly opinions every month. So you know that I'm a huge fan. You know that. I'm a fan of Sat AM. I'm a fan of the games, stuff like that. So, anyway, I thought, during my lunch right now, before I get something to eat, I would try to give you my own opinion on basically, some of the subjects that were talked about in these videos. Like, what I believe we can end up seeing in the movie, reference, cameos, acknowledgments, you name it. Basically who I believe could have sent Tails to find Sonic, and if they have a connection, that being Tails and Sonic, previously before the sequel. So with that said, let's get our running shoes on, if you will, and let's get through this, shall we? Let me give you my opinions on these various subjects that were talked about through these various videos. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is what 3CFilms wanted to touch upon, or did touch upon in his video, and that is basically who could have sent Tails to find Sonic. Now, 3CFilms brought up a couple of good suspects. One being a long shot, that being Bernadette and Jules Hedgehog from the Archie comic lore, as being possible subjects. The other one being Longclaw, because we don't actually see her die. One being Knuckles, and then the other being Robotnik, basically manipulating Tails to find Sonic. And those are basically, trying to find my words here, those are basically good subjects. Those are good choices. I'm not going to deny that. But I don't think Robotnik is going to be one of those suspects. I hate to say that. And if 3CFilms watches this, hey, he has his opinion, I have mine, but I don't think Robotnik's going to be in the running. Now, it would create an interesting, if not traumatic, dynamic between Sonic and Tails, and the fact that Tails allowed himself to get duped, but I just do not see Robotnik being a primary suspect as someone that would send Tails to find Sonic. I don't. I think, honestly, one of the primary suspects that I think will be revealed as the individual that sent Tails to find Sonic is Longclaw. I think that's probably the most evident direction they could go in as far as basically, who could have sent Tails to Earth where Sonic is, because the only person that probably knew where Sonic was the one that sent him there. So it only makes sense that Longclaw could have been that individual. The other individual that I believe, and I've touched upon this various times in videos, live streams and all that, but one of the other primary suspects that I believe could have sent Tails to find Sonic is a character that no one would expect, or they would hopefully expect because, or would want to expect, because she's a character they want to see. As a matter of fact, you already have, fans doing movie design renders of her character and what she would look like in the movie. And of course, I'm talking about Princess Sally. Now, I know some people are saying that's a long shot, that would not happen, there's no way it could happen, and you might be true, or you might be right, and that might be true is what I'm trying to say. But here's the thing. Sometimes movies based on franchises like Sonic will want to dig into more than just the game. In other words, they will want to dig more into just the game lore. Like if there's more to be expanded on, like if there's an expansion of the franchise out there that is in other parts of media that expands on what the history of Sonic is and the lore and all that, then basically I would not put it past the writers to probably pencil in Sally as being the one that sent Tails to find Sonic. Because one, think about it, again, this is Sonic the Hedgehog we're talking about. It's a big franchise. It's got numerous adaptations that have expanded his lore, his background, and all that. And basically, it's someone that, even though fans would be hopeful, but would honestly believe would probably not show, it would be a huge surprise for them to suddenly hear, maybe at the end of the movie, in a mid-credit scene, Tails communicating with somebody in his wrist comm, saying he's found him, and then maybe showing that individual Sonic, and Sonic probably recognizing said individual on the screen, saying, "Hey, how you doing?" And then you hear maybe a feminine voice, and he's saying, "It's good to see you," or "It's good to see you, Sonic." And then maybe the big clincher could be Sonic saying, "Hey, it's good to see you too, Sal." And as I've said before, imagine the reaction longtime fans of all Sonic lore would have if that name gets heard in the movies, in the mid-credits of the second sequel, of the second movie. Imagine how they would just lose their minds. I mean, yes, they would lose their minds if maybe it was Amy that sends Tails, and that would be a good one too. But I think the reaction would be bigger, if not more positive, on the feedback, if you will, from fans that go and see the movie, if it is Sally Acorn. Now again, I'm not saying it will be, but again, the reaction would be tremendous. And she could be one of those primary suspects, like I said, that could have sent Tails to find Sonic. I'm surprised 3CFilms didn't mention that. He probably was considering it, but probably realized, you know what, it's a long shot, just like Bernadette and Jules. Maybe fans are expecting it, so I'm not going to say it because it could happen, what have you. Now, like I said, Sally is a primary suspect. The other one that I just mentioned, of course, could be Amy Rose. Because you got to remember one thing. Any character, when they're depicted in a movie or any kind of different adaptation or format, they could be depicted as being older than what they originally are. Amy Rose could be depicted as being probably about the same age as Sonic in this case. And that she could be depicted sort of like what you see her in Sonic Forces and maybe the IDW comic and stuff like that, in recent adaptations, as being more of a leader. And maybe Amy could have been the one to send Tails to find Sonic. And just like I said with Sally, you could have Tails communicate with Amy, say he's found Sonic, have Sonic show up on the screen and wave, "Hey, how you doing?" to her. And then you could hear that voice that would sound very familiar, saying, "Hey, it's good to see you too, Sonic. It's good to see you alive, Sonic, and doing well." And then maybe, again, like I said with Sally, you could have Sonic saying, "Hey, it's good to see you too, Amy." And the reaction would be positive as well. I'm not saying it wouldn't be on the reactionary level as Sal's name being dropped, but Amy's would get a positive feedback. I mean, there would be clapping in the theaters for like several minutes. The same with Sally. If her name gets dropped, it'd be clapping for several minutes, and that clapping would get even louder after the communication, goes off or ends, and all of a sudden you see that character step out of a silhouette or shadowy silhouette, like let's say here. All of a sudden you see them just step out of that shadowy silhouette into some kind of sunlight, and it's revealed to be that character. It's revealed to be the movie version of Amy Rose. It's revealed to be the movie version of Sally Acorn. The clapping would get louder and more intense. And again, that's just my opinion. But to me, basically, Longclaw being revealed to be alive would get a nice reaction, an emotional reaction, because of the reuniting of the two characters. Sonic with his motherly figure that's taking care of him. But her reaction the positive emotional reaction to her return would be outdone if it's revealed, like I said, that the other two suspects are the ones that sent Tails, that being Sally or Amy. So I could see that. Now, as a possible fourth suspect, because he only named 4, but the possible fourth subject I could see that could have sent Tails to find Sonic is Tails himself. Hear me out. Tails, growing up, probably ended up hearing about a similar individual like himself that had a special ability, because obviously they have to touch upon the fact of Tails being a fox and having 2 tails that allows him to fly. So basically they have to touch upon, how that came to be and how he ended up learning about Sonic, Sonic being just like him, being someone that has special abilities, and that maybe it was Tails himself as he got older that wanted to basically say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go find this guy and I'm going to bring him back to our world because he's needed. He's needed here probably more so than where he is right now. So that's my primary fourth suspect, I should say. And, that being Tails as the one that sent himself. Basically, he probably will reveal that, hey, he was working on this portal. You're working on these portals with the rings to go from one world to another to try to find Sonic. So, yeah. Those are my 4 primary suspects: Longclaw, Sally, Amy, and Tails himself. So, again, I don't think, and I say this with all due respect to 3CFilms, I don't think, Eggman's going to be a suspect in who sent Tails to find Sonic. I don't think it'll be Knuckles or even the parents of Sonic, although that would be cool. I think primarily it's going to be the 4 I mentioned. I think it's going to be the 4 that I've mentioned that will be looked at as the primary suspects that sent Tails to find Sonic. That being, of course, Longclaw, which is an obvious choice because of the way Tails shows up in the world. He uses a ring portal. The other being Sally, which like Bernadette and Jules, could be a long shot, but not out of the realm of possibility, because she is a well-known Sonic character in the Sonic lore, no matter how you look at it. And the other one, of course, being Amy, which again falls under the Sally situation as being the one that sent Tails. And again, I could see a similar situation playing out when Sonic sees her on the screen and communicates with her for the first time, and the same with, like I said, with Sally. And then, of course, the last suspect being Tails himself, who probably learned about the fact that he's not the only being out there that has special abilities, that there's another one that has special abilities, and that maybe that individual will be someone that can help him in his world in the long run. So those are my 4 primary suspects. But now let's get into the next topic, the one that Andre talked about. 7 things he would like to see. Now, I'm not going to say 7. I'm just going to probably stick with maybe what I just did, 4. But let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so Andre did the video where he talked about the 7 things he would like to see in the sequel, like references, Easter egg, cameos, stuff like that. And I don't disagree with any one of them that he talked about. I think they're all great choices. However, I'm going to give you my take on what I would like to see. First of all, I think if you're going to do a reference, even though you may not have them in there full-fledged, I think you got to at least reference Sat AM. You got to reference the Freedom Fighters. You got to reference, some of the sayings they used to have. Like, you got to have Sonic say, jelly and jam time or juice and jam. You got to have him do that. You got to have him do that saying. The other saying I think you should have would be a cool Easter egg in reference to Sat AM, the Archie comics and all that, is let's do it to it. You have to put that in there. You have to have Sonic, Tails, maybe both, maybe even Tom and his wife say that word, do that saying. You have to have them do that. And then I don't think that anybody's thought about this. Have Tails and maybe Tom's wife Maggie, because Andre said that would be a great dynamic, kind of counter Tom and Sonic's friendship, having Tails with Maggie, or befriend Maggie, and that is basically have Tails and Maggie do the secret Freedom Fighter kind of like handshake, that whole fist bump, thumb, finger kind of deal. Have them do that. That will be something that when it happens, it'll take them a bit, but basically it'll suddenly dawn on them like, oh, now I know what it's from. So you got to do that. And maybe even have a reference to the Freedom Fighters themselves, like have Tails talk about this resistance. Maybe even acknowledge that one of them was hurt so badly that she, you don't have to say who it is by name, but she had to get her, limbs, several of her limbs replaced by cybernetics. Again, you don't have to say any names, but once you say she in cybernetics, people will know who you're talking about. Now, the other thing that I think should be referenced in there is probably, well, not just reference, but I think the one thing that I think should be dropped as Easter eggs that Andre did touch upon is the songs from the games. You cannot do this sequel without throwing some of the songs in there by Crush 40. You have to do a Crush 40. You have to have some songs from the Crush 40 Sonic tracks, like Follow Me, Live and Learn. Live and Learn would be one that people, if you put Live and Learn in there, or even Open Your Heart, that place will explode. That place will light up. They will cheer for days. They would cheer for, well, not days, but they'll cheer for quite some time. Heck, you even put in Speed by Sonic the Hedgehog, whatever. You put in the Fastest Thing Alive theme song from Sat AM in there, that'll even get a bigger reaction. I mean, to me, you have to do these things. You have to go and put these Easter eggs of songs throughout the film. You got to put them in there. I think it would be great. Yeah, you put in Sonic Heroes for all we know, over the Sonic Heroes games, and people would love it. So I definitely think you got to do that. You have to do that. The other thing I think should be done is little Easter egg references to other things throughout from the games. Like, For example, you should have, hold on for a sec while I do something here. I'm just checking the time. But the other thing I think you should do is you should name certain areas after, areas in the game. Like, with this one, you named the town Green Hills, Montana, which is based off Green Hill Zone. You had several references to other Sonic things throughout. But I think, honestly, you should also reference other zones in a unique way. Like Casinopolis, you gotta reference that. Even if you have them go through Las Vegas once again or whatever you do, you gotta reference that. You gotta reference, what is it? The chemical zone. You gotta reference that. You have to reference all, not all the zones, but certain zones that played an important role in the original games. You have to do that. You have to go that route. Another thing I think you should do, and I think this is the fourth thing I'm talking about, I'm not really sure. I lost track a little bit. But honestly, I think one of the things you need to do is you have to have another mid-credit scene. You have to have a mid-credit scene, like I mentioned in the first thing I talked about. You have to have a mid-credit scene here. You have to have a mid-credit scene in the revelation of a new character. Heck, you should top yourself. You should top yourself is what you should do, and have not one but two mid-credit scenes. You should have one for the villains, like reveal who will possibly be the next threat in the third movie if they do a third movie. So you have to have that, and I think the best thing to go, and I think the best mid-credit scene for the villains, if you're going to do a third movie, is the reveal of Shadow. That's what I think it should be. I think it should be the reveal of Team Dark or Knuckles. You have to have Knuckles reveal if you're going to go the traditional route, play homage to the original video game series, or you have to basically, in my opinion, you basically have to have Team Dark appear. And I'm not just talking Shadow, which will get a big reaction, but you got to have Rouge, you got to have Omega, you got to have those guys in there. And I think if you have that reveal for a tease the third movie, then I think you'll be set. The other one, of course, is the mid-credits reveal for the heroes. You have to do a mid-credits reveal for the heroes where you have another character show up. And that character, in my opinion, has to be, or that character or characters, in my opinion, has to be either Amy Rose, like I mentioned in the way that I just mentioned previously, Sally, same way, or you have basically Knuckles show up for the heroes. Like, he shows up on the planet to find Sonic so he could rectify what his ancestors did. That would be a big surprise for people. The other thing, but the other mid-credit scene for the heroes I think you should do would be one that fans want to see happen. They're not sure it could happen, but if you make it happen, they will be tremendously grateful. And that's the Freedom Fighters. You basically do that scene I said with Sally, and then you have her appear out of the shadows, which, in my opinion, would get a huge reaction. But then you have her turn and say, or then you have her walk, out of the shadowy silhouette, and then you have her talking to someone, and you say, okay, freedom fighters, we know what to do. Let's go find Sonic and bring him home, or something like that. And then on the opposite side, out of another shadowy silhouette, you see characters like Bunny, Antoine, Rotor, maybe even Amy Rose, who knows? You have them show up out of the background. Excuse me for a sec. Like I said, you do that, and I guarantee you that'll get a massive reaction. Because like I said, you have Sally appear in a mid-credit scene just by herself, and then come out of the shadowy silhouette by herself. And that's going to get a big enough reaction, there's no doubt. But if you have her do that, in addition to the fact that you have her walk out of the shadowy silhouette, reveal herself, and then end up talking to an individual or individuals, and say the line that people would like to hear, like, okay, freedom fighters, we have our mission, let's go find let's go find Sonic and Tails and bring them home, or something like that. And then on the opposite side, you see these eyes disappear in the shadowy silhouettes. It's of other with that obviously signal other characters, and you see them walking out of the shadowy silhouette on their side. And then, like I said, you see Rotor, you see Bunny, you see Antoine, you see even Amy, and I guarantee you that's going to get a huge reaction. Fans will be so thrilled that when they do the reviews of the movie spoiler editions, that they will have nothing more that they will be talking about that moment constantly. So I think you got to have, like I said, a mid-credit scene for both the villains and the heroes. And those are the kinds I think should be done. One other thing I think you should do, just in case I didn't go before already, one other thing that needs to be done is you got to have Sonic go super. You have to have him go super. We had a tease of it, obviously, in the first film, of how powerful he can get. You have to have him go full super here. You have to have Sonic go full supersonic, and you have to make it, and you have to have it occur in the final climax. You have to make that happen. You can't do the sequel without us seeing a supersonic form. You have to do supersonic. That's what I think you should do. Okay, so finally, the big thing that Screen Rant talked about is, Tails' connection with Sonic, and what is Tails' significance in the movie going to be. Well, here's the thing. I think, honestly, as I mentioned in the first thing, I think Tails will learn about Sonic, because him and Sonic will be similar because of their abilities and their gifts and their powers. So I think Tails will learn about Sonic. He'll know about him, but when he goes to the world to find him, it'll be the first time he encounters Sonic. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that's how the connection between the two will occur. Like, he'll know who Sonic is, but going into the real world will be the first time he meets him. Now, the other things that Screen Rant talked about is the possibility that Tails could be the Nick Fury, if you will, of the other Sonic movie franchise. That basically he could, be the one that is the catalyst, the foundation that is laid for future Sonic movies beyond just the second one, like spin-offs and all that. And that might be true. I mean, Screen Rant did talk about there's other kinds of lore within Sonic that could be explored. But what kind of Sonic lore is he talking about? Or are they talking about? It could be many. Like I said at the beginning, Sally showing up as Sally being revealed as a possible suspect of sending Tails to find Sonic, I would not put it past him. I would not put it past him to do that. So, I could see, Tails kind of being that catalyst. I could see him being the one that basically opens the door for other characters from the game version of Sonic, like Rouge, Shadow, Big, Tangle, Whisper, well, also who debuted originally in the IDW comics, but you get the idea. IDW characters originally, then game characters, I guess, just for the mobile games or whatever. But anyway, like I said, I could see Tails being that kind of an individual that opens the door for them, for an Amy Rose to appear, for the Chaotix to appear, for, like I say, a Rouge, a Shadow, the Freedom Fighters. Heck, even maybe references or appearances by Sonya and Manic from Underground. Who knows? He opens the door. He does kind of open that door to allow that to happen, but will it happen is the question. Will it happen is the major question. We'll have to wait and see if it does occur. But yeah, I could definitely agree as him being the one that opens that door to make it happen, to allow, things like that to occur. But as far as what I think the next movie could be like as well, because all three videos touched upon this, is I think it's going to it's not going to repeat the road trip deal. It's going to basically take us to another level. Because we know that if you repeat the same kind of story, it's kind of going to make the movie less successful. You want to go a different direction. And in my opinion, the best direction for them to go in is to go to Sonic's world, or to various worlds, in a fight against Robotnik and whoever he brings along with him. Hints are that's going to be Metal Sonic. So it's going to be really interesting. So it'll be really interesting what direction to go in, but they definitely cannot do another road trip movie. The other thing as well is they cannot, and hopefully they don't do this, and like I said, hopefully they don't do this, but they cannot start the movie with Sonic and Tails already knowing each other, already meeting up, or have met up. They can't do that. They can't, they can't do that. They can't do the movie that way. They can't just automatically have them know each other, or, like I said, you can't automatically have them know each other, right off the bat. You can't have them do that. You have to basically build upon them finally meeting and kind of building a trust between them. And how that's done is up to how Sonic finds out or discovers Tails has, basically it depends on how Sonic finds out on who possibly sent Tails there, whether it was Longclaw, Sally, Amy, or maybe even, as the 3CFilms put it, Eggman. So it's going to depend on the trust. So you can't just automatically have them know each other and start teaming with each other off the bat. You got to establish, you got to build the bond between them, the bond and trust. So that's what they need to do. That's one of the things they majorly need to do. But anyway, though, guys, that's basically what I feel they need to do. The references and eggs and Easter eggs and the things they should do. But yeah, that's about it. So anyway, that's what I feel they need to do when it comes to the Sonic sequel. Well, basically not what they need to do, but basically that's what I feel they need to do. Basically who I feel are the suspects on who sent Tails to find Sonic, and basically, the things I would like to see occur in the movie. Several of the things, not seven, but 4 of the things I would like to see. So yeah, that pretty much covers, like I said, the suspects the 4 suspects I believe that sent Tails to find Sonic, the things I would like to see happen, reference, be Easter egg done in the movie, as well as basically, what I believe Tails being there now is going to, play into how it's going to be a significant role. Like from opening the door for other characters to show up and everything, and how I feel his connection with Sonic will be. So that's all I'm going to say though, guys. I got to get back into work, get me something quickly to eat, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace out. God bless. I'm done.